I have covered, I believe, are all 3 existing Irish zombie films. All 3 are Northern Irish, so, you know,
Wait.
Republic of Ireland, you need to get yourself together. Is there a...
Are you counting the one with Samantha Lumley in it?
That's not a real proper zombie film, that's Boy Eats Girl, that doesn't count.
Just making sure we're not counted.
Yeah, no, Ireland counts. Republic of Ireland counts. That doesn't count. Because it's Boy Eats Girl. Ooh.
You're looking for actual visceral rather than just what that was.
Yeah, or at least, you know, an amateur level of shitness.
Challenge accepted.
You know, Republic of Ireland, you did Fatal Deviation, the martial art, you know, the Kung Fu movie. Where was it filmed?
In Trim.
Trim.
Me.
See, if Trim can do it, if they can do that, the rest of you can get together and make like 500 quid on a crappy zombie movie.
I'm from Clare, so we did Father Ted.
Yeah, but that's it. That's Craggy Island's basically the island of Ireland.
Which one?
The one with the boat.
Okay, this is going to sound like a very odd question, but would a film made by transition year students in any way count?
I don't see why not. I mean,
it's not zombie, but it's vampire nuns.
Well, you know, there's also the other Irish vampire film that I can think of was the Potato Vampire, so I'm sure that counts.
Sadly, the one I'm on about was like a 10-minute movie. We made it in like a week.
Well, Cannibal the Musical. Have you heard of that? By Trey Parker and Matt Stone?
Yes.
They made it in their first year of university. They spent so much time making it that they were kicked out of university, so they finished it after they were kicked out. So, you know, school-made stuff counts.
And there was Saw. Didn't that start as a project in school?
I think the short film version did, then they expanded upon it. Are you seeing stuff through there?
No.
Okay, good. Well, I'm sure someone will...
Is it turned off?
I have no idea. I'm trying to make this work.
Right, everybody can see?
Okay. Okay, these are the 10 films you might not have heard of. Are you getting a decent view? I would have brought this up big and made all impressive, but the links aren't working. It never fucking works. I hate you, PowerPoint. Okay. As a living, I review obscure and insane media. The last film I did a review was called Vijendra Varma, and it was an ultra-nationalistic Indian movie about this Indian superpowered colonel killing a bunch of Pakistani jihadis. Single-handedly, just wiping them all out while having musical numbers. You know, typical Indian stuff. But I've chosen 10 films here, 9 of which I have not done videos about, and 1 which I did, and it ended up as part of this because Akuma Khan decided that I needed to do more Japanese films, so I stuck it in there even though I'd reviewed it, and it's still in there because it's an entertaining video. So, you're going to get me talking about the films, giving me some information, and playing either a collection of clips if I don't have a trailer for it, or a trailer for the film. And these films are incredibly varied, from the first one, which is a Christian exploitation film, which is hilarious, and all the way to the Filipino superhero film. There is no rule about what kind of films I'll review. I'll review anything as long as it is interesting. And with no further ado, See Me Dance from 2009. Okay, get some information there. This film was made by a guy called Greg Robbins. He was in The Terminator and Reanimator. He gets killed twice in The Terminator, and he decided in his later life what he wanted to do was create the first Christian sitcom. So, I haven't seen any episodes of it, but from what little clips I've seen, it looks utterly fucking terrible. But then he decided, I'm making a decent look, living at this, making these things and selling them on video to fundamentalist Christians, so I'm going to make a heartfelt spiritual drama. So, you got a guy who makes comedy badly trying to make drama. He uses his people who work on his comedy show in this drama. And he decided to make it about this girl dying of leukemia. And it's the bizarre and weird type of leukemia where you got no outwardly sign that she's sick. So she's there. The only side effect is her eyes get bigger and more anime with every single minute of the film. And possibly her acting gets worse.
Was this taken in one take, and did she have LSD?
No.
No.
And no.
That she knows of.
But then, they decided to make their story that she She prays to God, and God answers by giving her the power to convert someone to Christianity, their particular version of Stepford evangelical Christianity, with a touch or a look, or by seeing her dance. So then the course of the film is they're going to convert the entire world to Christianity, whether they want it or not. So it's like they didn't realize they made Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but from the point of view of the aliens. And I'm talking about the 70s Body Snatchers, where the aliens win. Yes?
So, in that case, does that mean that this could actually involve Rickrolling as a tactic?
That's similar to what they do. They take over. They take over like local media guys, and they get her time on local television so she can start talking to people. She's supposed to stand there and tell them about Christ, and all she does is just stand there silently for 30 seconds, which in the film lasts for about 5 minutes. And then suddenly the entire local area is Christian. And then you cut to like several months later, and the entire of America is Christian. And then she dies on Christmas Eve because they won. It's horrifying, completely by accident. It's the second most weirdly horrifying Christian film I've ever seen, because I have a weird obsession with evangelical Christian American film. It's such a bizarre area. And
Symbolism. She dies on Christmas when Jesus was born.
that's possible, but the only one that's more badly thought out than this is an anti-abortion Christian horror movie where they accidentally make their own side literally satanic. Yeah.
Wait, sorry, I misheard that whole sentence.
No, you didn't.
No, as in, I kind of just blanked out for a minute there.
And evangelical Christian horror movie where they make their own side. Sorry, the evangelical Christian anti-abortion horror movie where they make their own side literally satanic.
So the anti-abortion group is literally the devil.
Yes. It's not so much a group as in a terrorist group that kidnaps people, and they discover that the person who's kidnapped them and making them like be pregnant, and then until they give birth, is that they've actually died and this is hell. And then if they give birth, they get to go to heaven. If they don't give birth, they get to stay in perpetual pregnancy for their entire life, And these guys like to say they don't view pregnancy as a punishment. But that's the Life Zone. That's a completely different film.
Sorry, just for See Me Dance, I'd like to point out that in the Rapture movies that you did, not Left Behind, the other ones, the Tribulation movies.
Oh, the Apocalypse
Yeah,
films.
yeah, that one. At least in that one, when the devil did the Day of Wonders program, where he got in touch with everyone in the world and made them choose him, he at least said, "You can choose me or you can die." He didn't say, "Just choose me." Like, he didn't just reach in their minds and go.
Reach out and touch faith, put to a whole other level.
Yep. But here we go. See me dance. Be amused. If the audio works.
I just wanted to dance and hang out, Dad. Now, all of this.
Oh no, I'm dying of leukemia.
Unfortunately, she's in the advanced stages, and treatment's not going to help. I'm sorry.
Please.
Someone else can go from the older than me. The doctor.
Daddy, I'm so scared.
You looked at me. I saw God. I know this sounds weird, Sri, but it's as if God has chosen you. And if that's the truth, man, this is gonna tick off the devil.
It's him.
It's David Boreanaz.
Yes, I do.
Remember a serpent disguised as a dove?
What do you know of hell, creature?
Oh my god.
All you have to
It's-
do is talk.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that in the Bible, I'm sure you know this already, what was meant to have split Lucifer off from God was that he wanted to make everyone worship him, but God said
Paradise
no, they
Lost,
have to
John
choose.
Milton. It's an accidental subtext of John Milton, Paradise Lost, where he's the rebel fighting for freedom.
And so that means that this girl is doing the work of Satan.
There's one extra funny thing in this. The devil there was played by Peter Kent, who is to this day Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double.
Oh!
He's first started doing the job in the Terminator, and he's kept it up. And if you've ever seen Reanimator, he was the big muscular sort of naked corpse that they fight about a half an hour in. So if you've seen Reanimator, you've seen the devil in this Christian movie's dick. Okay, next up, this is Clash of Empires. This is a Malaysian film by the guys who did Vikingdom, which was the world's greatest Viking movie ever. But this features ancient Rome and ancient China getting together. Like, they're going to have a Roman prince and a princess from China. They're going to marry because they're obviously right next to each other, and this is important. And then they decide to do this meetup in a small island, which is, modern-day Malaysia. And in this small island, there's a local group of pirates called the Garuda. Now, Garuda actually means some kind of monster. But these pirates have magical powers, which means they can't be damaged by sword, spear, arrow, anything like that. So, well, these pirate guys, they're basically in the film, visually depicted as Maoris. I don't know why. And so, eventually, you've got the Romans and the Chinese teaming up with Alexander the Great's descendant, who's from India, who has Archimedes' death ray's blueprints with him, and they use this heat death ray to kill the fucking evil Maoris. And this is based on Malaysia's legendary mythos for itself. They had all those areas, except the Garuda were a giant monster rather than a group of pirates. When making this film adaptation, they decided a giant monster, that was the limit of stupidness. They replaced it with immortal Maoris.
Not the descendants of Alexander.
Yep.
Considering considering what we know of Alexander the Great, that part to me might actually somehow be the stupidest.
Well, that's part of their idea, their
Somehow
sort of legendary
stupider than
thing.
Rome and China, not only be able to keep in contact with one another, but having the two, also the Archimedes death ray thing, because I'd assume the Romans just burnt that up.
Well, whenever I was, God damn it, no. Whenever I was watching this for the first time, I was, going along for the ride because it was hilarious. But then the fact that really started annoying me as, a fan of history was Archimedes was born after Alexander the Great died. So how could Alexander the Great have taken the blueprints to India?
Oh, Alexander the Great actually took the blueprints with him.
Yes.
Oh, good grief.
Was this by any chance made in New Zealand? To explain the Maori thing?
Nope, this was made in Malaysia by Crew Studios.
Right, Robert Beltran must have really had nothing to do.
But Crew Studios, they are, they make, they're owned by Yusri Crew, who was a pop star in Malaysia in the early 90s. And he decided, I'm going to make superhero films and historical action films. Most of his films have been Malaysian language. His two historical epics have been English language, no idea why. But he also made films like Kick-Ack Man, who's a man who swings around the city, like Spider-Man, but with his tongue. Never been translated into English, I want to see it.
Malaysian Toad.
Yeah, basically. But
like Kif.
Yep, but Clash, God. I hate this laptop, it must die. There we go, Clash of Empires. Anyone to make it lighter?
Please.
The Roman Empire chose a prince. From the east horizon to the Silk Road, that very emperor of the Chinese Empire had also chosen a beloved princess. To be united on the borders of two great civilizations. Though nature is not so civilized, the Romans sought to preserve their legacy and find a man who would change history. Very, very.
We have the ships and we have the men. The best that war can send is from Maharaja. He is a direct descendant of the great King Alexander himself. There are things here. One thing is beasts. Worse. Beasts with pirates' hearts. What matter of bad luck? It is said that before they attack, the skies would stab at their prey in bolts of lightning. Mungkin ada yang datang kembali. Atau mungkin semua sekali akan reda. Demi maruah dan kesejahteraan negara kita, marilah bersama kita kembali berjuang bersama.
Called Clash of Empires in this country. I don't know why.
I realised that a trailer is meant to show the best bits, but going by what I saw in that trailer, how did they get the money for that?
Well, Malaysia's got a film industry. It's one of the more expensive films. But
I'm rather surprised that the movie apparently decides to quote Braveheart of all sorts of.
But the Roman guy, partway through that, okay, about a third of the way through, there's a battle, and the Roman guy seemingly dies. The final battle, he turns up again, having spent the last third hanging out with the Chinese, and now he's an Aikido master. Or sorry, no. Pendat Silat, the Indonesian stick-fighting martial art.
That's a bit of an odd one to pitch.
Yeah.
Was it a success in Malaysia, or?
Well, so successfully made Vikingdom, the same movie basically with Vikings.
Okay. So
which I did a review of.
Okay, so these aren't just cult classics. These are films that were successful, just not well known.
Well, they're
successful elsewhere.
Yeah, Yusri Crew stuff tends to do quite well in Malaysia. Yeah.
Okay.
He's one of their bigger directors. But over here now to Thailand. Oh God damn it.
Skip reality.
I would have bought my own laptop.
No. I think you just closed your PowerPoint.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Maybe.
I'll
I hate
four.
Windows 8 as well, and I don't have a clue.
Usually that was task manager for the strike.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. Okay. Mercury Man is basically the Thai Spider-Man. It starts off with this really heroic fireman, and he's so damn heroic. It opens up with him going to a burning apartment building, and he's fighting through all the flames and the smoke and everything to reach a baby who's on the top fucking floor. And then he goes in there. Everyone else is like, "No, pull back! The baby's dead. You'll never get them." So he bursts into a room, picks up the baby, and then finds a wire that is somehow connecting the top of the apartment building to the next building. He gets his fireman axe, he hooks it over like that, and then he's using it to sort of rappel down. It's like, "Yay!" And then when we get to the bottom, we discover it was a training exercise, and it's a fucking dog. So of course he gets in trouble for being a fucking idiot there, but apparently the film thinks that's a terrible thing. And then later on, he gets stabbed by a mythical Buddhist amulet that's been stolen by Islamic terrorists.
How do you get stabbed by an amulet?
It's a sharp amulet. And it melts into his flesh and gives him the power of metal and heat. He becomes Mercury Man, and he has to defeat the Islamic terrorists. The terrorists, which are led by the dreaded Osama bin Ali. Imagine bin Laden played by a Thai male model in his mid-20s. And his entire team are a multiracial, a sort of cultural group of people, none of whom look like Islamic terrorists. But they're all there, and they all look... It's a bunch of people who work at the Gap. And so they're trying to, they were trying to get the amulets to use, this, well...
Some evil plan.
They use the amulets to harness their power and cause destruction, even though that would be considered heresy in their particular type of Islam. So now that I think about it, that doesn't make much sense. But fuck it. Mercury Man has to defeat them, and he has to defeat this woman who gets stabbed with an amulet made of ice, which gives her the power of ice. And I seem to be the only person in the world who really likes Mercury Man, but I think it's really, really amusing.
No, from your description, it sounds like something enjoyable.
Did any of us cover the power of bad puns?
Well, maybe, but the subtitles don't tend to translate that sort of stuff very well.
So, are you here alone? Where are you from?
You?
America.
Maybe for me.
ความตายไม่ใช่สิ่งน่าเศร้า ถ้าเป็นการตายเพื่อพระเจ้า
Osama bin Laden!
เหล็กไหลจันทรามีส่วนประกอบของพลูโตเนียม ส่วนเหล็กไหลสุริยันมีส่วนประกอบของยูเรเนียม
จะเกิดอะไรขึ้น ถ้าเหล็กไหลทั้งสองรวมตัวกัน
คุณคือผู้ที่ถูกเลือกจากเหล็กไหลสุริยัน ให้คุณครอบครองพลังพิเศษ หากคุณควบคุมพลังนี้ได้ คุณจะเป็นผู้เหนือมนุษย์
More than 50 years, a powerful country, let our soul destroy our family in cold blood. It's time for our revenge. You will yourself him.
ชะตาของคุณถูกกำหนดไว้แล้ว จะดีหรือร้าย อยู่ที่คุณเลือกจะทำ
It's a good superhero costume. Rescuing the doll. A bit like Spawn crossed with Venom.
I was actually going for the black spider suit.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. It's obviously it's cheap as hell looking by our standards, especially that's 10 years old. But I think it's an amusing film.
I think the ice creams one looked worse.
Yeah.
Okay, we're about halfway through, so I'm possibly going to speak less about the films and just go through them a bit quicker. But this is Mystics in Bali. This is it's an Indonesian film based on traditional Balinese witchcraft. Okay, and this they take witchcraft so seriously in Bali that they had to film this in a different part of Indonesia, because Bali is the Buddhist part of Indonesia, and so they had to film it in the Muslim part, because the Muslims are like, we don't care about your Satanism. So in this film, rather interestingly, they actually have word for word proper Balinese witchcraft rituals in it. So if you want to see if the film's accurate or not, you can try it for yourself. But what happens is this woman, this German woman who was in Indonesia at the time, was given 3 months of accommodation, basically to extend her holiday if she appeared to be in the film, if she accepted a job acting in the film. Never acted before or since. She's just there playing the Western person. I want to learn about Balinese witchcraft, and she becomes a liak, spelled L-E-A-K. These things, basically their head flies off at night, holding their intestines and their lungs and their ribcage and all below it, and they fly off and they suck blood. And then they return to their body. And this makes you immortal. And at one point, some of the craziest things in the film, okay, the main character is like, his wise and learned father dies, and then of course the father's brother comes basically as Indonesian Gandalf the White, comes into battle people. You've got the head flying around, and it bursts into this house, knocking people through walls, and then finds a woman who's about to give birth and basically sucks the baby out of the woman while she's giving birth and in labor. And then there's other bits where there's green balls of fire flying around. It looks like they're having noisy flying ball green sex in the sky. It's just insane. This is considered one of the holy grails of insane Asian cinema. And I have found Huh?
What is the actual storyline of the movie?
She goes there, learns about the Liak because on a whim she wants to, and then she gets turned into a monster, and then her boyfriend decides to try and save her, but he can't, so he gets his uncle and they try to kill her and kill the other Liaks. You know, I think the basic message of the film is stupid white people.
Well, that's the message of a lot of horror films, to be honest.
Yeah. Yes. And then in the film, in the DVD, they actually give you the full unabridged version of the ritual if you want to recreate the film yourself.
So do not do this cool thing.
They actually say don't do it, you know, because we can't prove that it won't happen to you.
So, are you here alone?
But I managed to find an original, very early 80s trailer for the film. It's the only trailer that apparently exists. Also, Liaks can turn into pigs for some reason, and if they're really old Liaks, they only communicate in laughter.
What's wrong?
I am the greatest master, the queen of the most terrifying magic, the Liak magic. I'll accept this young girl. Starting tomorrow, she'll be my disciple. All right, and now the time. Take off your skirt. I need to write a few mantras of Liak on your skin.
Indonesian Gandalf. Wearing a towel.
So, maybe it's just me, but that Bali witch thing, it should have made a killing as a tattoo artist.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you turn into whatever's on the tattoo. But next, I fucking hate.
Alter.
Do you even know what?
I've never used Windows 8 before.
I have no idea.
I was more asking for the future.
Okay, Repligator. This is okay. These scientists create a teleportation device. Unfortunately, everyone who goes through it turns into an attractive, buxom young woman. And then, if they have sex, they turn into an alligator woman and start going on a killing spree. And if you're bitten by one and survive, you turn into a gay zombie. This film exists because a low-budget filmmaker, he had some money left over and some sets left over to make another film. And he was like, okay, I got 4 days. Write something and make it. And then when they finished that, they were just shy of the actual length you need to be to be a feature-length film. So they paid another £2 or so, and they got the guy who played Leatherface in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre to come in and just do a little wraparound story where this scientist is explaining to a military guy what happened in this laboratory. And then it ended up with 70 minutes of genius called Repligator. This is the sort of film that you have to see it to believe it, but There's no trailers for this. I've never found a trailer, so what I have done is basically cut together a bunch of clips from the film. Without context, because it's funnier without context. Just...
So
they go in mid and they come in...
Yeah.
So it has like a similar history to Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes, that sort of ethos.
They go in mid and they come out women. Are you trying to tell me you never bothered to check that?
We experimented on lab rats. You want me to get you a lab rat? Watson, give me a lab rat.
Tell me if it's a boy or girl.
A few years ago, we targeted a group of low-intelligence Americans with an early mind control radio frequency. The result? The Macarena.
So I went in looking like Bigfoot, came out looking like Barbie. Maybe you should take a trip to the machine yourself. Huh, Doc?
Does the machine include data?
That face! I think the face is what gets me the most about that.
What the hell is that? That's Private Waring. She just killed Colonel Sargent. Now she wants us.
Okay. If that's the case, explain why she's a walking alligator right now.
I blame you for that. Me? Yeah, when you programmed her with rampant infomania, you created a sex-charged object of desire. She experienced a prehistoric orgasm which stretched her genetic code, creating the creature we now have to deal with. Gator Babe.
Gator Babe.
It could happen.
The little something we came up with while you guys were gone. Hey, ugly.
My God, what happened?
It's in the replicator. What was that thing?
It's Private Waring. After sex. Apparently the bite from a gator babe produces a zombie-like trance.
What does he want?
Stanley.
He's trying to communicate. Colonel Sargent, what do you want? Maybe you should ask.
Ask him what? Help me set everything straight. And when it's over, I'll turn you back into a woman.
Promise her anything, right, Doc?
If you don't do this, the next time you have sex, you'll turn into an alligator.
I'm sorry, I actually literally just shut off from any vocal communication around the time that they started talking about somehow genetically stretching back millions of years.
He has a degree in genetics.
I am science, I know things.
I don't know.
I can't just.
I don't know what your problem is. It's entirely accurate.
So that's what all those alligator monster women were in the 70s. It was.
Yes.
Well, Father Nemo says that's clearly not an alligator, it's a velociraptor.
I thought, hang on, did Rob act in that?
Hmm?
Doug's brother, did he act in that?
No.
But he's a dinosaur.
Oh. Okay, next is Six String Samurai. This is one of the best indie films of the late 90s. Basically, it's an alternate reality where Russia invaded the United States in the 50s, and they conquered everywhere except for Las Vegas. And then Elvis became king of Lost Vegas, the capital of Las Vegas. And now Buddy Holly, this is set 30-odd years later, Elvis has died and they need a new king. So Buddy Holly, who for some reason is in his 30s in like the 1980s, is traveling across Vegas to try and get to Las Vegas in order to try and claim his crown. And he's using that in order to get across and defeat things like Death, who has a metal band, evil bowlers, crazy suburbanite cannibals and stuff. He has to use both his guitar skills and his samurai skills. This film is amazing, and the soundtrack is wonderful. It's entirely Russian-style surf music, done by a band called the Red Elvises. Yeah?
I'd like to see a Fallout New Vegas plot of this story right now.
You totally could. And for some reason, the Six String Samurai is supposed to be an analogy for The Wizard of Oz, but I'm not entirely sure why. I just noticed there's similarities.
In 1957, the bomb
dropped. Las Vegas became the last free state. Elvis was crowned king, but his only heir has died. Now, Vegas needs a new king. And one guitar-picking, sword-swinging wanderer.
We don't get too many new guys around here.
Is fighting for the throne.
What a king wannabe on the way to Vegas.
And one lone orphan is along for the ride.
You scratch my guitar. Follow the yellow brick road, homie.
Neither armies nor bowlers.
Nice tuxedo. To die!
Nor death himself.
Don't let the Four Eyes reach Vegas alive!
Will keep them from their quest.
I gotta get a new gig.
Slice me off a thigh, honey bun!
Six String Samurai is wildly original and highly entertaining. 5 stars.
Don't touch my guitar, man. Don't even touch my guitar.
They called him the Six String Samurai, and he became a legend. Jeffrey Falcon, Justin McGuire, Six String Samurai.
Is this as good as I am thinking it is?
Yeah, it is.
What about the kid's sidekick?
Well, basically he's vaguely abusive to him.
Oh, so like in Iron Man 3 with the whole, because we're connected.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Then something happens with him at the end, but I don't want to spoil it.
Is the main character possibly Guy Pearce under an assumed name?
No, he looks like him, yeah, but he's a guy called Jeffrey Falcon. He spent most of his career being playing stock white guys in Hong Kong movies. This was his big thing in America. It never went anywhere, and I don't know why, because he was perfectly fine. You know, he's fine at acting. He's really good at martial arts.
Oh, so he like did his own stunts and stuff?
Yeah, the only guy involved in Six String Samurai who actually went on to do other stuff was Brian Tyler, who's the music guy, and he's done a hell of a lot of films, including the score to Iron Man 3.
Oh.
So, but
me thinking Hans Zimmer had just overtaken everything.
But here is Versus. Okay, this is the inspiration for Devil May Cry, the original game. This is okay. Ryuhei Kitamura is amazing at action. He's the world's greatest, probably just pure action director. Other action directors do other things. This guy, he can only do action. So Versus is like, my favorite review of this was, you go into a restaurant, you order your favorite meal, and when you're finished, they give you it again, and again, and again, and again, and it never stops. This film, it came out in year 2000, and it was about 1 hour, 45 minutes. And it's 90% violence and or standing around stylishly. The characters don't even have names. It takes multiple viewings to work out what the basic plot is, because it involves various time periods, zombies, superpowered zombies, immortals, sword fights Highlander style, and more. And then, 4 years after making the film, they went back and decided, you know what this film needs? More violence. So they filmed an extra 15 minutes of action and just stuck it in. And then, I don't know if they cared about this, but the camera they used was totally different, the lighting was totally different. Some characters' hair cuts and hair lengths were totally different. So as a result, you can see at a glance where the new footage is. And in one case, the most extreme case was, one character gets killed by getting punched through his head, through the front, out the back of his head. They decided in the extended cut that was only a flesh wound. They brought him back for another fight.
With the hole still in his...
No, they sort of covered it up with stuff, but you'll see it.
It is but a flesh wound.
Yes, I did a review of this from an internet review show, and I pointed out that the guy decided that punching a hole through his head is only a flesh wound. So, Versus, again, none of the trailers for this were good enough, so I just edited together random bits of violence in this. Because, you know, the trailers try to create some sort of a narrative, and it really does a disservice to the film. This film is style and violence over everything.
Bring violence.
Yeah. And you can easily find this, either the shorter or longer cut, like on Amazon or whatever. It's not hard to find. Oh, this is the opening shot of the original cut. A samurai cutting a zombie in half. This cost about £10,000 to make.
A flesh wound?
This is a sword with a laser sight. Oh, best Matrix joke ever.
I love how when he picks it up, it still has the kickstand on it.
Okay, so ultimate or just regular versus?
Ultimate versus is the long one. Versus is the short one.
Yeah, which one do you recommend?
Ultimate.
Okay, just making sure.
Well, both of them are good, but Ultimate's got more. Okay, we got about 15 minutes left. We got a couple more films to do. For some reason, I skipped over Cockhammer, so I'll go back to that if we have time. If necessary, I'll just show you the trailer for that one without context, because that'd be funny. This came out this... I hate you.
Alt F4.
Hmm?
Alt F4, that it closes the count window. Just
oh,
go
okay.
on. No.
Sorry.
Next time it shows up.
Okay. This came out almost the same time as Versus, and I think Wild Zero and Versus are basically the coolest zombie films ever made, but totally different reasons. Versus, you've seen. Wild Zero is basically a punk mindset and aesthetic taken to zombie films. The guys who started are Guitar Wolf, who are an actual punk band, and I believe they're the loudest band in the Guinness Book of Records. It used to be Motorhead, then Wild Zero decided for an entire album they would literally put all of their dials up to the top while recording, just so to make it as loud as possible, and they didn't care about distortion.
Loudness Wars.
Hmm?
Loudness Wars.
Yeah, and that album is called Jet Generation. So they're playing themselves just when zombies arrive, and the zombies are raised by aliens, so it's basically the plot of Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. And also involved is this guy who's a big Guitar Wolf fan, and you've got this crazy seedy club manager who owes people money and dresses in powder blue hot pants for some reason. And Guitar Wolf did not want to be in this film. This was directed by a guy who made their music videos, and he wanted to make a feature film. And I don't know if he blackmailed them or begged them or whatever, and they didn't want to do this, so they spent the entire filming drunk. And you can tell, but it doesn't really matter, because they're basically sort of like shambling around in a film where absolutely everything's bursting into flames for no reason, and there's zombies, and, you know, Guitar Wolf, being the world's greatest punk band, they have punk band powers, like being able to use guitar picks as zombie-killing weapons. You know, as you do. And the words rock and roll, or more accurately said, lock and roll, is said about 8,300 million times in the film.
Wait, how many?
Lock and roll, as they say. Basically, yeah.
How many hundreds?
A lot. You put them all together and you'd probably get about 10 minutes. The film's about 85 minutes long. And the trailer is very punk as well. Basically, even if you spoke Japanese and even if you could read Japanese, this wouldn't make any sense. They do a bit of a disservice to the film because they don't put the best shot in human history into the trailer, but it is in the film, where Guitar Wolf, not the band, the lead member of the guitar, the guitar player, he is Guitar Wolf, he is also with Bass Wolf and Drum Wolf, they are Guitar Wolf, it makes sense to them, but Guitar Wolf goes onto the top of a skyscraper and pulls a katana out of his guitar, even though his katana is longer than his guitar, pulls it out, puts it up like He-Man style, and cuts an alien spaceship in half. They should have put that in the trailer. You could have just put that bit into the trailer, made that the whole trailer, and people would have watched it.
Why is that shot not used for?
I don't know. Now the last film here, there'll be a couple minutes left, so I'll go back to Cockhammer. That's the one that if you're under a certain age, you might want to go away for. But Zsazsa Zaturnnah is a Filipino, how do I put it here, sci-fi superhero comedy transgender musical. If you're familiar with Linkara from That Guy with the Glasses, I'm doing a co-review with him for this film in 2 weeks' time over in Canada. And this film features, it's a parody of a Filipino superhero called Zaturrnah. Now Zaturrnah is a bit like the Filipino Wonder Woman. Basically, she picks up a magic stone, puts it into her mouth, says Zaturrnah, becomes Zaturrnah, and fights crime.
Or with the stone in her mouth.
Well, it's put in mouth, I think she swallows it and it's kept in her body or something. I'm not a massive expert in Zaturrnah. But Zsazsa, you got the same basic idea, but the main character, instead of just being a regular woman, is bakla, which is the Filipino term, closest English language word would be ladyboy. And then she puts a meteorite, which rather than being a small magic stone, it's the size of this laptop, and swallows it via really terrible and horrifying CGI, and then turns into Zsazsa Zaturnnah, who's a regular sort of cisgender woman with bright red hair with magical powers, and defeats some criminals, then a giant frog filled with reanimated skeletons, then zombies, some of which fly and sing, and then finally alien lesbians who want to kill all the men on Earth or turn them into women. So they're merciful, I suppose.
I love this film.
The funny thing is that...
Oh, you saw it since I did the thing last year. It's amazing, isn't it?
I went home and I watched it and it was brilliant.
It's the campest thing ever. Like, I've seen Pink Narcissus, which is entirely filmed under pink lights and features basically nubile young 20-year-old boys in, like, matador outfits going like that. I've seen that, and this is camper. Basically, there are some bits in this that are so camp. If there was a camp absolute 0, it would be 1 or 2 degrees off.
Where's the worst TV show on this game?
Oh, nowhere near Zsazsa.
Okay.
Trust me. Like there's a bit that you can. I think the shot is in the trailer where you've got Zsazsa putting a CGI golden crown on her head while singing and going like and sort of glittering and sort of diva style. This is the campest shot in human history. It's almost physically impossible to make it more camp. But watch out for it in the trailer. I'm pretty sure it's in there. Okay, 2006, the Filipino musical superhero legendary film. Luckily, it's got a little bit of a lead in.
Track pads.
Raise your hand when you work out and write what a camp this is.
Pelikula nito! Ang pinakabonggang superhero!
Sa langit? Aga! Naku, ito yung mga nababasa ko sa comics. Ay, subo mo! May powers yan, Ana! Maniwala ka sa akin, hindi! Ano paano? Talaga! Paano ko itutuloy ito?
They call her Zaturrnah.
Zaturnnah? Huwag ka talaga sa mga superhero movies, ano? Natural, pag may superhero, may kalaban.
Mighty female warrior. Ako si Queen Feminist Stellar Baru. At ang inyong planeta, ang aking napiling magiging makabagong planeta. Join us! Yo! Go home and plot kamote, you fucking high! Malaktakot sana! Tignan ang kamangha sa aming kakayahan! Isang ganap ng pera, tapos kamay na ako. Bayan na ako.
Zaturnnah, the movie!
Aquí se lo me la puedo y que se la puedo
falling over on the bus yesterday. No, just yesterday, falling over on the bus getting out.
At the end was her discovering that she can't
his
fly.
suitcase, and then his suitcase fell over.
And it fell to the floor on the coccyx.
Okay, now this one, I skipped this one by accident. This is Cockhammer.
Anyone under the age of 18, dead and being starved.
Because I don't mind showing it, but I won't go into get in trouble.
Could watch verses, but not.
Okay, basically, this is made by Kevin Strange, an Illinois-based horror movie. He basically decided to do what Troma were doing. So over about 8 years, he went from no experience in films to actually quite experienced. And his entire study was making films, horror, comedy, semi with corny elements, you know, gore, stuff like that. And you could see his films getting slightly better each time. This is one of his later ones, so, you know. Okay, my standard for good is a little bit different from most people's. So you guys might think this looks terrible, but trust me, I've seen his one about the evil masturbation demon. This looks much better. And so, as I say here, it's about an evil snuff porn producer who's trying to become a god via human sacrifice and, you know, stuff like that. He's got a couple of assassins working for him. There's a bunch of stoners around. It's basically like a 20-year-old Lloyd Kaufman film. Now, Lloyd Kaufman did like The Toxic Avenger and Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, stuff like that. Poultry Guys, Night of the Chicken Dead.
The film's glorious, you should watch it.
Yes. Cockhammer, and I really like Kevin Strange's stuff. He's sort of retired now and now writes books because it's cheaper, which, you know, fair enough on him. But I wish he'd do more of these.
By the forces of outer blackness, by the evil sleeping beneath the sea, I call to you. Bow before me as your God. I command you.
How far would you go in pursuit of absolute power? Would you destroy your sanity? Would you sacrifice your soul? All of humanity is about to get fucked.
We're gonna fucking die. I'm never gonna get to suck another dick again.
If you're about to be sent to suck on God's big, fat, circumcised Christ cock.
Yeah, you take that wind, you face a fucking corpse. That made me think about letting you take 2 dicks in your mouth at one time, bitch. You have destroyed the royal penis. Look my dick! Holy shit, you bitches are fucking ugly. How much for a blowjob?
Thought the one on the right was hot. Want to suck their dicks or something?
From the twisted perverts who brought you dead shit. Colonel Kill, motherfucker.
These are real films.
And his Steve Jobs comes the most controversial film of 2009.
I'm going to put on your first, and I'm going to eat it all. The cum?
That guy was in The Dark Knight.
Oh, motherfucker!
I can't remember, but he had a small part.
God damn, Cockhammer. You hit us so hard a fucking eyeball popped out. Fuck that. I love my cock. Die, motherfucker!
If I show you fucking losers my tits, will you sell some smoke weed so you can get the fuck out of here?
No. God. How many more women must I kill? How many more rituals must I perform before the elder gods hear my cries?
Cockhammer. In 2009, evil is
uncircumcised.
Oh, that is a tagline! That's all I can say! Shot by Nick Head. So close! So close!
Oh, hi! Sorry, I'm Joe. The computer wants to say hi, I guess.
So that was 10 films that you probably haven't heard of. Had any of you actually heard of any of them? Because you saw Zsazsa. I know Nicola has seen.
I've seen some of that list from previous lists.
Oh yeah, the one I did last year.
Yeah. I wasn't at Brocon last year though. I think I might.
Oh, Comic-Con? Or
no, I was there in 2013 though. Like.
Or QCon? Because I previously, this is like the 5th time I've done this panel. I try to change it up a bit. This is the same one I did in QCon, but in the next month this month I'm reviewing See Me Dance and Zsazsa, so they're being retired from my list. So this is the last time to see them in that video. Oh, hope you enjoyed. Sorry. Yeah, 8 years. He went from no experience in films to actually quite experienced, and his entire study was making films, horror comedy, semi with corny elements.
Sickness me all down inside.